Dan Rather's here. Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to get your reaction to the president saying that he's willing to testify under oath.
But did you note he didn't say when he was willing to do this?
You think he's pulling a fast one?
Frankly, I do. But I've been wrong before, and he may testify under oath. He said he was going to do it, but he didn't say when. Look, what we had today was Donald Trump absolutely determined, desperate if you want to use that word, to regain the narrative. Comey had the narrative yesterday. Trump, throughout his presidency, part of his way of operating his strategy is he has to weave the narrative every day. So he grabbed it again today. They're on mission to destroy Comey. And it's going to be an equivalent of Sherman's March to the Sea. Burn everything in sight, destroy Comey. That's the game of this. Because this overall strategy for President Trump, in my opinion, is he absolutely positively must keep his hardcore base. I think we've mentioned it before. Right now he's at somewhere between 35 and 38 approval ratings. He knows if it gets below 30 and stays there for very long, Republicans will turn on him.
Well, that's what I want to ask you, because you don't. Republicans aren't. I don't see many Republicans, if any, really coming out after yesterday's testimony and supporting the president. The RNC put something out. Paul Ryan said, "Oh well, you know, the president just doesn't know," and it's like, what kind of excuse?
Yeah, he's still learning, or
he's still learning
that. Well, as they say at home, that old dog won't hunt.
Well, why won't Republicans come out, and you think they're concerned? Why aren't they coming out and giving a full-throated defense of the president?
Because I think they're afraid of where this may go. They're afraid that he may have indeed have committed some impeachable offense. And also they're hearing from home that a lot of their constituents are increasingly concerned about the Trump presidency. But you know, we don't up to now, we have no profiles in courage among the Republicans. Somebody really speaking out saying Trump is bad for the country and bad for the party. But as long as he's able to hold that 35, 38 poll rating, you may not see that, but I repeat for emphasis, once it gets down below 30%, you'll see some Republicans going the other way. There is this thought, someone said on CNN Air today, and I agree with it. If Donald Trump were a Democrat, Republicans would be screaming for his impeachment already. Now it says something about the Democrats, and I think not all that good about the Democrats, that they're sort of holding back. They're still a little wary of actually coming out and saying, listen, he's committed impeachment quality offenses. One can respect that to a degree, because even though he's president, Trump is entitled to a presumption of innocence on many things. But the evidence keeps growing and growing and growing. And remember, we're only at the first stages of multi-investigations into what happened, when it happened, how much he knew.
As I was watching yesterday, I was like, this is just the beginning for anyone at home, and especially when people were coming out on both sides saying, oh, well, you know, this shows this and this shows that. It's like, this is really early on. Look what we found out about how Comey manipulated the system in order, he's the reason that, or the big reason there's a special prosecutor, right? So he said that he knew because he wanted to force a special prosecutor. But as I said last night, and I take credit, I think it's a really good, and I think you agree, yesterday was a political Rorschach test. You remember the old Rorschach block? What do you see here?
Exactly.
And if you have a political leaning a certain way, you may think that you won. If you're a Trump supporter, you may think that he won. But really, in the end, it's kind of a draw, wasn't it? Or was it?
Well, for the moment, I would say advantage Comey. But you're quite right. It depends on your political point of view, how you read the Comey testimony to a very large degree. But Don, I think this is so important. You know, we're talking about Comey and President Trump and who's lying, who's telling the truth, who isn't. The big picture, and I think I'm confident the American people get this. The big picture is the Russians scored heavily in undercutting credibility of our electoral process, a foreign power, whether they concluded with anybody in the Trump administration or not. So the two big points to concentrate on: one, we know the Russians were very effective in undercutting the credibility of our election process. How do they do that, and how do we prevent it from happening another time? Now, the second part of it is, did President Trump or anybody around him collude with the Russians? Because if they did, that'd be a very serious offense, possibly reaching treason. So when we get into these day-by-day things about Comey said this and Trump said that, it's very easy to lose that big picture.
Yeah.
But you know, we're dealing here with the very vitals of the nation when you talk about an electoral process. And we the people, capital W, we the people, we need to know what happened with the Russians.
Right.
We have a right to know it, and it's our patriotic duty, I would say, to keep demanding the answers.
Here's what struck me yesterday. I don't want people at home to imagine this. We're sitting here, right? The world can see the cameras are rolling. Now, what if I said, turn the cameras off, turn the lights down, everybody leave, close the door. I need to talk to Dan Rather by himself. And then the door's closed. Dan, I really hope that you would let this thing go. What do you think that means?
I think it means what Comey thought it meant, that he was directing me to let it go.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, and that can be proven to be the case, and motive is very hard to prove, that is obstruction of justice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Always a pleasure
to be
Have a
with
great
you.
weekend.
Thanks for having me.